Aloha and welcome to the Lemuria Rose Priestess podcast, where we discuss the feminine spiritual path, what it means to be a Sophia Christ initiate, and how we're weaving ancient priestess temple arts into modern day life. I'm your host, Celeste Glus, Oracle of Lemuria Rose Temple, creatrix behind the Sophia School of Feminine Initiatory Arts, and Lemurian Healing Arts Mentor. Let's get into it. Hello, my loves, and welcome back. So I want to explore the topic today about this notion that we hear about so often in the spiritual feminine movement, which is women are here to birth the new earth. This notion that it's really important for the feminine consciousness to awaken and to come back into her full feminine expression because she is an integral part of this new consciousness that we're all experiencing on Earth, whether you want to call it New Earth or the future of humanity or how human design and Gene Keys refers to it in terms of the great changeover. Whatever you want to call it, essentially we are in this acceleration of consciousness, and women are a very key part of that. Now, I just completed the filming of the lineages of Mu, the reclamation of the motherland and the motherline of priestess lineages. And it was really interesting because I was getting ready to really anchor the Sophia School of Feminine Initiatory Arts. And it was very clear that I was not allowed to move forward before I actually anchored this template, this reclamation of the priestess lineages of the ancient feminine hidden lineage that carried a very specific role in our human history. And I found that very interesting because I really just wanted to get on with the curriculum. I really want to start sharing all that I'm about to share. And it was very clear, like the priestess lineages need to be awakened and really need to have a role in women. Like we need to understand our history before we can actually even start doing any of the initiatory work. Now, that notion is really important when we are talking about this future of humanity, of women reclaiming their feminine and the role in society as literal birthers of a new consciousness. If we look at a lot of ancient cultures or indigenous cultures, they always speak about the importance of our history. Now, they often speak about their specific lineage, but essentially what we find is that in order to move forward, we must first reclaim our past. And that's exactly what we just did inside of the school. Before we can move forward and do all of the alchemy and initiatory work, what I was very specifically guided to do was reclaim the very history of the women who held the power and the codes of not only birthing consciousness, but holding down a very particular, a very specific template for humanity. And that's literally the priestess lineages, the temple arts, okay? Now, when we think of the priestess lineages, we think of essentially the external aspect of what it was to be a priestess, which is to be a healer, to be an oracle, to be someone who can see beyond the veil, can potentially be a prophet, can potentially work with healing ointments and magical prayers and sound and the arts and sexual magic. So yes, all of this is extremely important. But one of the things that we really go deep into inside the lineages of Mu and the reclamation of this mother land of priestess lineages is how they carried the creation codes within their consciousness. And by doing that, by holding the creation templates of the Sophia lineage, what they were doing was essentially holding Sophia, the wisdom of life, in its complete form. Now, I want to just back up a little bit because it's like, whoa, what are you talking about? Okay. First and foremost, I think it's very important to understand that the feminine consciousness, the Sophia consciousness, I wouldn't even call it really Sophia consciousness that's being shared in the feminine spiritual community. It's just really this notion of awaken your feminine energy, be in your flow, be in your intuition, and come back to the earth. Now, that is what we call feminine energy. Feminine energy is very different. It's in fact just one small piece of the pie within what is called the feminine path or the feminine consciousness. Feminine consciousness essentially is the ability to birth realities, right? We have this motif, this ancient image of mother and child. And this is where a lot of women are just repeating the same old story of like, oh, you can not only birth a child, you can birth a project, and you can birth, your business, and you can birth your dreams, and that's you building the new earth. Well, that's a very watered down, misinterpreted version of what I'm talking about here and what I'm sharing inside the lineages of Mu. So let's just break it down a little bit. We have to understand that connecting to our feminine energy, aka meaning being in feminine flow, having embodiment practices, regulating your nervous system, connecting to the menstrual cycle, connecting with the earth, connecting with your womb wisdom, even this notion of being positive and light and flowy. These are just notions of being in a sort of feminine, passive, receptive state of consciousness that really is not to birthing or creating any kind of new reality. That certainly is healing, and it's very supportive, and all women need to do that. And there's a part inside the Sophia School where we focus on that. But what my economist brain is here to figure out is, what do we actually mean by women are here to birth the new earth? Okay, so let me answer that for you. In the reclamation of lineages of Mu, what we did was really understand and break down the solar feminine Christ frequency, the solar feminine Christic force. So the crystalline consciousness of the feminine that is in fact here to birth a new reality, because realities must be birthed through the mother, through the feminine, through Sophia. Yes, going back to that motif of mother and child, mother, feminine, goddess being the one who births the all. But in order for us to do that, we need to rewrite the very templates, the very background energy, if you will, that we're working from. And that requires, it's like a recalibration. It's like releasing the old computer system of software 1995 and coming into this new software of 2026 and beyond. And that requires, first of all, a specific kind of timeline. So it doesn't just happen in one conversation, because it's an activation of your subconscious and deep cellular memories. In fact, in the course, I have us create a tincture that we work with throughout the entire 5 weeks. And what we're doing is we're working with dream time. We're working with this lifetime, real time, what you can call it, quote unquote, so that we can start to awaken the feminine lineages that are asking us to birth the new earth. And so essentially it's the solar feminine. It's the Sophia Christ, Sophia crystalline consciousness that has been completely hidden and erased from our feminine lineages. Many people think that the feminine lineages or the priestess lineages were, erased or hidden because they had healing gifts and everything that we spoke about. Yes and no. What they were really carrying was the creative power, the template of creation within their consciousness. And that's exactly what we are doing inside the lineages of Mu. We are rebirthing the template of creation, which is phenomenal. That's why we're going all the way back to the time of Mu. The very course begins with the time of Lemuria, when humanity was seated. Regardless of your connection to Lemuria or Atlantis or ancient civilizations, again, we have to go back to the beginning of time to really understand, what does creation even mean? And if someone can't explain that from a sense of universal aspect, what is creation? How does it occur in the universe? And then how does that trickle out into the womb and into humanity and into the woman? Then it's kind of like it falls flat. Oh, we're here to birth a new earth. Okay, great. Just be positive and it'll happen. Well, clearly that's not happening. You know, our earth is, our society is really not being, let's call it transformed or rebirthed the way that a lot of people were expecting it to be. I think a lot of people are just like waiting to wake up one day and experience the new earth. And quite frankly, that will never happen, because creation does not happen that way. Creation happens through the body. It happens and begins through the heart of the feminine. And in terms of the heart of the feminine, yes, that lives within both man and woman, gender-based. But what we're talking about here is the notion of creation templates carried within the womb, okay? And the heart is connected to the womb. So it's been an incredible 5 weeks. A lot of it you really can't even put into words. But I will say that if you are called to birth the new earth, if you're like really curious about that and wondering, yes, but how are we doing that? Like, how are we actually putting that into practice? Join me. Join the lineages of Mu, the reclamation of these priestess lineages, the reclamation of actually carrying the template of creation. And so, again, just to bring it all home, the template of creation requires an initiatory process. It requires reclaiming ancient history so that we can really embody the notion of creation as a full reflection of the yin yang symbol, as a full reflection of all that is. A lot of times we hear about birthing the new earth from people who are sort of talking down about the shadow or darkness, or not understanding darkness, or even talking about darkness in terms of light. That happens a lot. You hear this notion of like, oh, you don't have darkness, it's just light waiting to come to the surface. That's insane. That's a ridiculous notion. And so what we do inside the lineages of Mu is really break all that down, because you cannot birth a new earth with a fractalized consciousness, with a split consciousness. And that's what is happening a lot. There's a split, a misunderstanding of the creation template, of the notion of understanding creation as a byproduct of our consciousness, okay? You are naturally creating a universe right now through your breath, through your thoughts. But if you have not integrated your consciousness, if you have not fully reclaimed your history and the notion of creation, how can you actually birth a new earth? All you're really doing is just recreating your past. And it's very easy actually to create an inventory for yourself. Notice your life right now. How does it compare to a year ago? How does it compare to 10 years ago? And how does it compare to the life that your parents lived? And oftentimes, if you find a repeating pattern that is not changing, then it's time to break that pattern. It's time to really understand that it's time to initiate a new level of consciousness, a new journey of exploration, of reclaiming something that is your birthright. And that is, in terms of the feminine initiatory path, your ability to birth a new earth. So, my loves, I know that was a lot in a short amount of time. It's just all really coming very clearly after anchoring the lineages of Mu, after really working with even the mermaid lineages, understanding the mysteries of water and how that relates to our consciousness, how the use of water has been taken over by a lot of religious institutions, but in fact, it belonged to the feminine, because water is in fact the substance of life. It's a creation principle, sound, and water. So I really go into all of this. I really break down, not just logically, but really even esoterically and spiritually, why this is an important notion for those of us who are genuinely called to be a part of the new earth, and understand that the new earth is happening through our bodies, through our breath, through the spiritual power that we carry in our spirit, in our breath, in the aloha, in the breath of life that moves through us. Okay, so I'm just gonna wrap it up one last time. If you are a mother of the new earth, if you are a creatrix, if you are on the feminine journey and you want to go beyond a feminine flow, you want to go beyond feminine energy and really start to be a co-creatrix of this new earth principle, I invite you to start with me inside the Lineages of Mu. It is now available on demand. It is a 5-week journey, incredible. I will say that the lineages have presented themselves very clearly since beginning, more than ever before. I've already been working with them for many years, but it was very clear that bringing in all of this information and wisdom really anchored in my body like it's never done before. And it's really like alive. I hope that you feel that. And, when we do this kind of work, we're working on different levels. I want you to know that. So some of it is informational and knowledge, of course, but a lot of it is working through your consciousness. And so what that means is you start to experience synchronicities. You start to experience certain dreams. All of a sudden, certain people, experiences, books, opportunities come to you totally unexpected because you are really calling it in. And that's exactly what we did. And some of the women inside the program, it was really amazing because out of thin air, they were called to go visit a specific sacred land, and I'm talking about take a plane and go visit. And they were not only just called, the opportunity arose. And for me, it was certain experiences and dream time and books and memories that came forth that I was completely not expecting. So it's been an amazing 5-week journey of really reclaiming the priestess lineages through our body and through our consciousness. And that's what it's all really about. Remembering that you are the living embodiment of the new earth, and you are the one with the sacred responsibility and the sacred duty to birth the new earth. And it cannot happen if you are still running on the same programs or templates as you were before you woke up, before yesterday, before understanding that the priestess lineages were the carriers of the solar feminine Christ consciousness, of the creation principle, of the womb of creation. They were very connected to that. That's what we're doing inside the Sophia School. This Lineages of Mu course is the seed, is the very soil of the entire school. We begin with the full reclamation of the priestess lineages all the way back to the time of Lemuria, and we bring it through Atlantis, through Egypt, through Samaria, all the way to modern times. So, my love, if that calls you, I welcome you into this space. I'm really, really excited to hear from you. If you have any questions, please feel free, DM me on Instagram. CelesteGlus1111 is the handle. And I will see you next time. Okay.